Hi everyone, my name is Brendan. I'm an alcoholic. Nervous alcoholic, but thanks very much for asking me to be here. They say you got to be a liar to qualify in this program. I'm a liar, a cheat and a thief, but I'll try and tell you the truth as best as possible. I'm a work in progress, so bear with me. I'm also a member of the CIA, that's the Catholic Irish Alcoholics. And I am a Canadian citizen now. Happy Canada Day to one and all. And Ireland is not in the United Kingdom. I'm asked to speak about a vision for you. I'll give you three. One is what I got from Bill's, lying in a hospital dying. I got no trouble identifying with that. That's where I was on my way to. But I'd go out in my car outside, I'd be shaking, I'd be saying, Jesus Christ, something awful's going to happen. And something awful was going to happen. Because I did not know how to stop drinking. And I had lots of willpower, and I applied it to lots of other things, but it got me nowhere with the booze. Obviously, I wouldn't be here if I could. And until Bill and Bob got together, that's the story for me and for you guys. It was tough luck. We were going to die. What did they say? We got locked up, we die, or we recover. But there was no recovery. The other story I'll give you is my sponsor story. This man, I heard him speak just after I came into AA, and he told me he'd been sober for 10 years, and he was in worse shape than he'd ever been when he was drinking. By which he meant he hadn't had a drink for 10 years. And that made the hair stand up in the back of my neck. Why? Because this selfish, recovering alcoholic didn't want it to happen to him. And Pat went on to tell me it was because he never worked the steps. He stopped drinking, all right, but then he wanted to get financially successful and put a whole bunch of other things before recovery. So there he was, 10 years without a drink and feeling worse and in more trouble than he'd ever been when he was drinking. And then there's the story that's in chapter 11 of the big book. You know, it is a vision for you. And Bill was back to talking, I know in the story of it, it should be a vision for us, I suppose. It's an inclusive thing, but he was back to that language, a vision for you, telling us what to do. And what he tells us in that chapter, and I include myself in it, is service. The whole chapter is about service. It says you want contented sobriety, well, you got to go and earn it. And that's what the 12 steps tell me. I can stop drinking. It's only mentioned in the first step, the booze. The other 11 are how to live my life to get contented sobriety. And for me, the price of contented sobriety is service. And it happens in AA and it happens outside AA. I believe, I'll tell you a little bit about myself to identify, but I've really said all I need to say so far. I was born in Ireland. I'm the middle of 7 kids. My parents weren't alcoholic, but the society I grew up in was. And from the youngest age, I can remember the feeling that I didn't fit in. My parents were a bit unusual in that they had the first kid when they were 35 and the 7th when they were 45. And I was right in the middle of them. And it was a busy place. And what I wanted was to be told I was a great guy. And I wanted pats on the head. And I'd get that. That mightn't be unusual. Maybe all kids want it. But I really wanted it. And I could get it if I brought home good school reports and if I won things at sports. And from a very early age, before I'd gone near the booze, I was competing with my brothers and sisters, which caused lots of trouble afterwards. Because it was me. Give me mine first. And it also set me up for the fact that that's what alcoholism, the ism part, that other people were telling me if I felt good. Because if I won something, I was happy for a bit, but I was always afraid I wouldn't the next time. What was going to happen? There was a fear and a discomfort knocking around in myself. And when I was 13, I had my first drink and it went away. Peace and quiet. We all know that warm feeling, that fitting in feeling. It was just joy. There was a piece of me that was missing. There was an anxious piece of me, and the booze filled it. I grew up in a Catholic family, and it wasn't the punitive Catholicism. There was a bit of that, but my parents practiced the way of living that I think is a healthy way to live today. I went to a Catholic school, and I threw it all out the window because they were telling me to do things. They were telling me to do things I wasn't going to do. So from there on in, I was reading books on philosophies and various things. I knew there was something wrong with me. I knew there was a bit missing with me. And I thought that if I read the right book or came across the right philosophy, I'd fix it. That it'd fill it in for me. It wasn't until I got to you people that I learned I wasn't doing the stuff. You know, I was reading the books, but there was no behavioural stuff. And that was a big piece that I got when I came to AA. And I'm not going to go through all my drinking, but it was, you can all identify. I just felt good. The drinking in Ireland with the pubs, it wasn't all bad at all. There was a real sense of belonging. There was the booze did it for me on its own, and it was for the effect from the beginning. I liked the taste of it, but it was the way it made me feel. And the pubs, the sort of football ladsy gang were all together, feeling warm, feeling identifying. No longer alone was out there for me. I got into trouble from an early age with it. I'd black out. It didn't bother me. I thought it was just life. I went picking grapes in France and met a lady who's my wife today, and she's here with me, thank God, because it's not thanks to me. And I was there because they gave you free booze. You know, that was the way my life was lived, and you could have a bit of fun afterwards if I had mine first. I went off to med school and I became a doctor. I'm a family doctor in a small town about an hour and a half from here. And I did that because I wanted to become a psychiatrist. And I wanted to become a psychiatrist because I wanted to fix myself. I knew I was a bit nutsy, and I reckoned it got social prestige. The parents were happy, the community was happy, you got the pats on the back. So the rugby playing alcoholic doctor fitted in nice. It was part of the lifestyle. But something was dying in me. And I did go off and I studied psychiatry for a while, and all the books and the rest I read did nothing to cure my alcoholism. And I did, from 21 on, I'd said I'm an alcoholic and I was going to control my drinking. You know, cure it, drinking while drinking. And I did all those stuff in the big book, and I only drank beer and I only drank wine, and I only drank on weekends. And I wouldn't be standing here today if it worked. And take you up to what happened at the end is we moved a few times. We came to Canada with 3 young kids, and it was one day we were driving on a Sunday, and my daughter, the kids were 8, 6 and 4, daughter and 2 boys. She turned to her brothers and said, "Shh, shh, Daddy's sick again." You know, and she could see me in the car. I'd tighten right up, I'd be there. The wife wouldn't let me drive. I asked her to stop the car and let me out, and I would say she would have been happy to run over me if she thought she could have gotten away with it. She let me out. But the difference then was I went and phoned. I phoned and I said I need help. You know. And 3 days later I was in a treatment centre down in Guelph, not far from here. And the guy told me his story. That was the first time. It was me until then. You know, me looking at me, centred on me, poor shagging me, why can't I fix me? And he told me his story. And he's a famous kind of guy in Ontario circles. But if you've heard his story, it's outrageous. And I was listening to him. I said, "You did what?" And he shifted it for me. And what he said is, "Brendan," he said, "this is a spiritual program." He said, "If you're not prepared to look at the spiritual aspect of it, you can shag off, because we need the beds." I was prepared to look at anything. It was jump and jump how high. And he gave me the big book, and I found there what I'd been looking for all my life. I've been looking for all through my drinking days, and I've been looking for it beforehand, and I've been looking for it when I was studying psychiatry. And it told me straight away. And I just knew it was honest, and I knew it was, I could identify with Bill's story straight off. He was saying, you have to do this stuff. And the people in the treatment centre were saying the same thing. Especially, go to bed at 10 o'clock, lights out, get up in the morning, eat 3 meals a day. I was used to telling other people to do this, but I didn't do it. And I hear talk like terminal uniqueness. You know, it applies to the others, but not to me, thanks very much. I'm going to do it my way. But I got into the big book, and while I was lying there, within a week or so in the treatment centre, the thought came to me, real heavy thinker, that I hadn't made the world. You know, that it was there before me, and that it was going to be here after me, and that I was here for a short space of time. And that for me was my spiritual awakening. And I'd read all the stuff before, but I couldn't hear it. It couldn't get into me. Because right from that was, what am I meant to do while I'm here? You know, what the hell am I here for? And from that I could start at least working on my spiritual program, my AA program. And I was piddling around with Steph Tree, and I was at a conference here in Toronto, and I heard Father Peter talk. And he said, all you're asked to do is make a decision. He says, you cannot turn your will and your life over to the care of your higher power, whoever he or she may be in step 3. He says, if you could do that, you wouldn't need any of the other steps. He says, all you've been asked to do is make an honest decision to do it. And that hit me again, because I knew he was telling me the truth. It was honest for me. And I stopped piddling around, and I got into looking at the stuff I'd done in the past, and I found that with my brothers and sisters at home, and with people growing up, and with my wife, and when I moved over here, I did the same thing. You know, you could change who the people were, but the same thing was me first. Selfishness, ego, self-will run riot. You could have a bit afterwards if you wanted to, but I wanted mine first. And you know, people often talk about that stuff getting them down. It didn't get me down. I was an alcoholic, but I wasn't stupid. I could see I was going through these steps to change the way. It was a program of change. I'd been told about that I didn't have to keep on doing that stuff. And I went and shared it with a buddy who's a priest near where I live, and it was a good feeling, you know. And it started that sort of breaking down the walls between you and me. Because beforehand, I tell you, whatever lies I thought was the best thing to make you think the best of me. You know, people pleasing, lying, cheating. And then I got into going, well, I had to do this entirely ready bit. How the hell do I become entirely ready in step 6? And it was told to me, you know, I could take what little willpower I had, and I could ask my higher power to help me, and I could do the opposite to the things I've been doing before. And I'm going to tie that in with a vision for you, because the vision for me is totally contingent upon how well I practice those steps. You know, and I'm not taking anybody's inventory here at all, but I am saying what I've heard from you people in AA is that we need our bottom to get into AA. We don't come here willingly. Who cares to admit complete defeat? Not shagging me, that's for sure. But I've no other choices left. And it was humiliating at the beginning. And then I had read and seen those promises. You know, those promises that are waiting there if we are painstaking. If we're painstaking about our recovery, we'll be amazed before we're halfway through. I didn't need a vision. Bill Wilson told me what the vision was, loud and clear. I would not regret the past. You know, I'd come to know peace. But it's not a given. It's only there contingent upon how well I work my program. And guess what? Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But that's okay now, because I feel I've been given back the map. You know, beforehand I was wandering around saying, how the hell do I get by on this planet? How do I live? What am I here for? I read the books, did all the different philosophies in them, but I wasn't doing them. So I got this gap. They talk about being an active alcoholic, you have to build these little warps into your thinking. You know, those mental twists. Well, I sure as hell had a lot of mental twists to blame other people for what my problems were. And in recovery, it's the recognition of those, not to be ashamed by them, but to recognize them and work on changing them. And change, 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 that's what this program's all about for me. And I can't change unless I've identified what my problems are. And identifying it's fine, but then I have to work on them. There's a chap here who says you take a horse thief and you sober him up. You still got a sober horse thief. You've got to work on that stuff. And I do. You know, I've got a program, and it starts every morning. I do my meditation. And I take a little time at lunchtime. I take a bit of time when I come home from work, and I take a few minutes before I go to bed. It doesn't take a lot of time. Just a few minutes to check in. And you know what? I'm always a little bit off balance. There's always something there. Say, I can have it right in the morning until I get out of bed, or until one of the kids says something, or I get into it with my wife or something. But I use those 4 times to help keep me balanced. I got a sponsor whom I dearly love. He's the salt of the earth, and he's just rock solid. There's no bull attached to him, and I check in with him at least twice a week. The real secret, as you people in this program have told me, is of course in the moment. You know, if I find myself getting mad, if I find myself getting angry, to stop there and then ask for some guidance from my higher power. And if I ask, I'll get it. And for this alcoholic, like many I've heard before, the biggest problems are at home. You know, it's relationships that alcoholics have difficulty with. And one of the biggest rewards and blessings is, I mean, I have my wife here with me today. That's only thanks to this program. And a real blessing. You know, I don't deserve it. I know I don't deserve it. It's a gift from God. My kids, I got decent relationships with them. Sometimes I say the reason I keep going to AA is so that they'll be still around for my kids when they decide they need it. And time will tell whether that's there. But as regards the paternal end of it, you know, I can sleep at night. I used to wake up, the jumps, you know, something awful's going to happen. And something awful was going to happen. We talked about the jumping off place. I was coming to that. And I do make the point, someone would see me outside, and I've got a lovely wife, 3 nice kids, a good job, nice house. You know, the week before I came into recovery, one of my neighbours said, "You have a maid." So I've no trouble identifying with the man in the glass. You know, inside job, in me. And the people pleasing for years beforehand, I hope I help somebody here, but if I don't take it personal. It helps me. It helps me because it helps keep me honest and it helps keep me straight. I don't like speaking, but that's what I've been told to do. Tough. Doesn't matter whether you like it or not. You do it because that's the way it is from here on in. And that's okay with me too, because I know if I just do the things that I like doing, that's right back to my drinking days. And I would mention when I came across booze, that was my drug of choice. I didn't need other ones. But during my one of my attempts to get sober, I stopped for about a month. And being a doctor, I had this office full of pills. So, woohoo, I convinced myself I had an anxiety condition. I sure as hell didn't feel well. I felt very jumpy and anxious. So after the month off the booze, there I was with the Valiums, or the Lorazepams, or the Xanaxes that I'm sure lots of you know or have heard of. So dual addiction's no problem for me. And street drugs were in there as well beforehand. I smoked my share of pot. I didn't need it because I had the booze most of the time. But I've no trouble identifying with people who have cross addictions. And I know I've got an addictive personality. I mean, that's part of what I learn in the recovery. I'm a marathon runner too, and I can identify with the diarrhea. And I can tell you as well, it hasn't gone away from me since I stopped the booze. Maybe there's something now. I'll go see your doctor. But able to stand here and laugh about those things now. Joys of recovery, you know. And the biggest joy, you know, the biggest one, a vision for you, because I think we all have our own stories, is that it gets better. That's what it is. Is that the thing we share together is we've been given this program and we've been given the map. And for me, keep an open mind. It isn't that we're alcoholic and there's the rest of the world out there. I think we're alcoholic and we've got a problem. We've got a disease and a sickness. And these guys came along with the program and gave us a treatment for it. And it fits me to resume my position in the outside world. And that's a gift. And I have friends who are priests and ministers, and they tell me they have difficulty getting the members of their congregation to get enthused about things. But the gift that's given in this program for me with the 12 steps is it is a chance to live again. And like Bill talks about the guys who were on the Titanic and got away with the lifeboats, you know I came so close to death. Not only my own death, but the death of people around me. They say it's a family disease. We kill our wives, we kill our kids. If we don't physically do it, we just drag the life out of them. We kill people drunk driving on the streets. Now, I've been given back this life, you know, and with that an enthusiasm. And do I mind speaking if somebody asks me? I don't mind at all. For a gift like that, you know. Bill talks at the end of that chapter. He talks about, if I can remember it, trudge the road to happy destiny. And I read that and I think that's a mixed metaphor. You know, happy destiny is a joyous thing. Trudge it sounds like trudgery. You're pulling yourself along. That's the way it is for me. I've known all my life the things that are worthwhile don't come easy. I have to work on them. And I got to work on my program. And it's fair and it's honest with me. If I do the work, the happy destiny comes along there. If I'm trying to take the shortcuts, if I'm cheating and lying, and that isn't just with you, that's to me, and I got those little twists in there so I can do it. I need people to keep me honest. But if I'm checking in with them, keeping honest and working on it, the sky is the limit. I don't know what will happen. I know bad things happen in life. Big deal. I used to milk that for all it was worth when I was a practicing alcoholic. Now I can take my place in the world and know a hell of a lot of good things happen in life. Happy, joyous and free. If I bring myself along for the game, it's heads up and I'm there. I don't know what the future will hold, but I know it's optimistic. And that's thanks to you people. And just a couple of the things to touch on to finish. Brothers and sisters that I used to really have troubles with because they didn't like me. And they didn't like me because they knew me, because they lived with me. Gifts of sobriety, I'm godfather to their kids. You know, they come to me and ask me to be godfather. And I come from the sort of family that remembers birthdays and that kind of things. They phone up and send cards. That doesn't come easy to me. But they're helping me, you know. I send them late to the kids. And they say, oh, that's okay. We know you're always late with it. But I do it, you know. And that, being able to rejoin the world out there, it's just a joy. And that's what I wish for you. And I don't have to wish it because it's a given. Regardless of what happens in our lives, if we work the steps and develop the spiritual aspect, it gets better. I don't know what it's going to bring, but it gets better. And that's a gift. I don't know any other place that I can go and get that in this life. And when I come to a conference like this, you know, I saw all the people outside, and it was wrecking my head, to tell you the truth. It's just, I can't handle it. I'm living in a small town now. It's too big for me. But when I talk to you people and talk to you individually and see you, that sense of belonging, you know, no longer alone. And you know what? I know it's only going to get better as the weekend goes on. So I thank you. I thank you all for the gift of sobriety, and may your sobriety dates never change. Okay.